orphan. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you feel we never wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey son, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced lies.
Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Want somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah.
Barefaced lies.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Do you wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah? Do you think we ever wanna defend, yeah? Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Sunday the 30th of March 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is one of those Recusant 9 transmissions. We try and do them every Sunday night. And, of course, happy Mother's Day, particularly to those of you who still have your mothers. I lost my mother about 18 months or so ago, so it's a reflective day for me, if I'm honest with you. It was last year and it is this year. So you're all blessed. Every one of you who have your mothers are indeed blessed. So happy Mother's Day to you. And yes, indeed, it is Eid for me, so I've spent the day nibbling samosas is what I've done, and snoozing. So I've nibbled plenty of samosas and snoozed. And before we start, I've got to tell you the story, not about the nibbling of samosas, because we used it to mock the white politicians who'd rock up for the postal votes to nibble samosas. So to the point, I think, where the term nibbling samosa was deemed to be racist. I enjoy nibbling a samosa, so I'm not sure how the term nibbling samosas can be racist, but we did mock our politicians in our town with the term nibbling samosa. And I come from that generation of people who watched things like Spitting Image. So mocking politicians is if there's a British tradition, if there's a Western tradition, in terms of liberal democracy and what we do, mocking our politicians surely is one of them. So I would frequently make reference to Jim McMahon MP as the samosa nibbler. To the point, I think, where they tried, not that they didn't try, they did. The interim borough solicitor, now interim borough solicitor, Alexander Bogotoff in Oldham, wrote to me. In fact, he had solicitors write to me. So I think they spent the best part of somewhere between £20,000 and £30,000 of your money, of taxpayers' money, trying to take an injunction out against me to stop me from doing what I do, which is campaign on the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of children. That's essentially what I've been doing for the last 6 years. And Bogotoff had these solicitors write to me, and in it, they actually had the audacity to spend half a page or so making reference to the times I've used the term nibbling samosas, and it's caused alarm and distress. So, yeah, indeed, nibbling samosas is what I do or need. And whilst it's on my mind, I should share with you, those of you who are in Oldham should submit a Freedom of Information request to Oldham Council. And if you want, get in touch with me and I'll run a Freedom of Information workshop. I think one of those are long overdue. Where Mango Chutney, indeed, Tony, Mango Chutney, the leader of Oldham Council, Arud Shah, stood up in the council chamber and accused a councillor who'd put up a post about mango chutney and a whole host of other condiments, marmalade or whatever your preference was. She claimed it was racist. She then submitted a standards complaint and external solicitors were called in. This is again using your money. So someone should put in a Freedom of Information request to see how much of your money has been spent to determine whether or not the term mango chutney is racist. So, yes, I will. They are long overdue and I will. So, I'll put one together. If I can't do it this week, I'll definitely try for next week. As always, all of my work is 100% free. We went free on the 1st of January 2025 after being free for so long and me getting really, really annoyed with people who would take my work and pass it off as their own or promise to help me get in positions of power and then ditch me. And so we got to a point where I was just about scraping minimum wage. The 1st of January came along, we did what we did and we thought, no, you know what? I had a conversation with my brother and my sister. And whatever conversation you have with a 10-year-old child, they see the world so crisply, don't they? And I said, well, you know, we might not have a lot of money, but I need to put all this content out for free and we'll see where we end up. And we did. And now the world knows. The world knows, and it's much, you know, in terms of our content and our reach and our influence and our impact, it's more than it ever has been. The flip side was, of course, I lost about 300 paid subscribers just like that, because why pay when you can get the content for free? But so many of you have come forward and said, you know what, stuff it. So what if we can get it for free? We find value in it, and some of you have paid £3 a month, some of you have paid £5, £10. Someone yesterday subscribed for £25 a month. That's the top tier, and you get the same content. So, you know, it genuinely it just put a smile on my face. And of course, my target was 300 initially for March to make up for the 300. But then someone came along a couple of weeks ago and gave me a chunk of money and said, there you go, Roger, keep it going. And that keeps it going for next month as well, whilst I try desperately to make up for the shortfall. So this is me getting round to asking you, those of you who don't subscribe to Redwall and the Rabble or don't have a paid subscription to Redwall and the Rabble, and there's 2,000 of you with subscriptions to Redwall and the Rabble who don't pay a penny, by the way. Please, for the love of God, just upgrade for £3 a month. Get me the last 25 or so I need, 25 to 30 I need before the end of tomorrow, and that'll leave 100 number. We'll need 100 for April, and we'll keep going. And look, I'm smiling. It's been a good day for me, and I'm smiling. So please, if you're here, and there's 226 of you here, if you're here, please, come on, 75 pence a day, a week, 75 pence a week. £3 a month, or just pay £30 in one go. It's really, if it was me on the other end, I'd pay it, because I'd look and see and I'd know what this guy has gone through and why we're here. And we're here, and it's not for me to take credit or to say we as a small team did it, but I know, you all know, this campaign for a public inquiry, this momentum, this national wave would not be where it is if we had not done what we'd done. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch my interview with Peter. Lovely gentleman. Invited me down immediately when the news broke in January, and between him and me, we just couldn't get the dates coordinated, and it was no one's fault. He was just busy, and every time he'd keep sending me these lovely pictures of his studio in the middle of Soho in London, and they are lovely studios. I went down, and I caught the train back. My friend Evan, who's not here this evening, so I'm not sure where Evan is. He dropped me a message to say he'd sent me £10 over, so I splashed out on the they're not Virgin trains anymore, but you understand, the cart for the overpriced coffee, sandwiches and biscuits both ways. I enjoyed my podcast with Peter, and I've put something out to say I think it was probably the most important one yet, because I think what's happening is a combination of me becoming more comfortable live speaking with other people in a podcast setting and understanding how to get messages across to novice audiences, because I've been working with a small group for 6 years now. So a lot of things I don't need to repeat or say because people have understood it. So, but there's a lesson there for me. It's great. You know, there's a lesson there for me on how to convey my message in as simple a term as possible. And I'm clicking the super chats because thank you very, very much. I think it was, Tony. I think it was one of the best ones I've done. And I think it was powerful. I think it was really, really powerful. Now, what came from that is, you know, he shared the content, I shared the content. I don't think he's got a big Bitcoin sort of following, hasn't it? So this isn't really his forte. But he did have Liz Truss on, you know, the former Prime Minister on at one point, which is why I really wanted to go on it. That's why I pushed him again. So, no, I enjoyed it, and I hope you got content out of it. And the bit, of course, I missed, if you watched it, and I couldn't find at the time, was the ex-Telford MP, Ms. Allen. And she, let me just find her full name, just give me 1 second. Lucy Allen. And I couldn't find a post where she made reference to how she'd been threatened and they looked her for it. And I found it on the way home. It was on a tweet. And seriously, this is the MP for Telford who spoke out against the grooming and gang rape of children, and the police visited her to threaten her. And it made me reflect and made me think, well, actually, Raja, if they can do that to an MP, you, as in me, you've got to wear lightly. And that's how I reflected. You're coming to support on the 26th in Manchester. What am I doing on the 26th in Manchester? I didn't know I'm speaking at anything on the 26th in Manchester. So if it's news, seriously, it's news to me. I am going to a conference to speak at the weekend for UK Column, who do a lot of stuff to do with child safety and child exploitation, you know, in a wider context, to do with the British government. So I'm going to an event for them at the weekend. It's took a bit of convincing for me, and for me again, to convince my daughter, and I had to explain to her, because I am a, you know, I'm a parent who has my daughter at certain times of the week, so I will miss her over the weekend. But we had a chat and we agreed that I should go and share what I know. Billy has been sorting out your schedule. I don't know, Gary. I have a focused mind, so normally I know. If I've said yes to something, I know. So and I'm not, you know, I'm not going to say no. I don't even know when the 26th of April is. No. First I know. Unless I've missed it. It's the first I know that I'm speaking on the 26th of April. When is it? I don't even know who they are, by the way. No, it's a Saturday, so I'm never quite sure on Saturdays. It wasn't it wasn't sorted with me, because never mind. I'm sure whoever it is, thank you, email me the poster. I'm sure whoever it is will speak to me at some point. Okay, Chloe, listen to me. I'll get to Rupert Lowe. In fact, I've got a presentation set out to do with Mirpur, and I was going to mock them, and I've got everything written and stuff. I'll get to that with Rupert. But what I'll say is I've already shared. Do you not follow me on Redwall and the Rabble, Chloe? If you don't, go and get a subscription to Redwall and the Rabble. It's completely free to sign up. You only pay if you have to. Because people who follow me on Redwall and the Rabble would have got an article in their inboxes on Saturday morning. I think you guys got and I don't think I could have been any clearer. I don't think I could have been any clearer on my respect for not just Rupert Lowe, but for anyone who comes and stand alongside us in this fight. Because I am apolitical in this. I have no political allegiances, no party political allegiances really in this. I'm not a member of any political party. The only political party I was ever a member of was the Labour Party, until they kicked me out for speaking up against against the grooming and gang rape of children. And if Reform had come forward with something tangible, I would have supported it. If the Conservatives had come forward with something tangible, I would have supported it. If even UKIP had come forward with something tangible, I would have supported it. So when Rupert came forward with that, the first thing I did, sorry, Chloe, I do put a lot of content out. I write, in the main I write. And so I do put a lot of content out, but the emails get read on the whole. I look at the open rates, me algorithms, and there are something like 80% of my content gets read by all members, free and paid, over the course of a month. So 80% is a very high sort of ratio. So I support anyone who wants to help the stopping of the gang rape of children. Now, we're talking about it anyway, so let's talk about it. Some of the reaction is predictable, and some of it made me angry. And remember, I'm not in the Rupert Lowe camp. I'm not in the Richard Tice camp or Farage camp. I respect all of them. I think they're all effective. I also think, there are members of the Conservative Party who are very, very good on this. So I'm not picking sides like that. My observations were, first and foremost, how the left-wing, left-leaning establishment did one of two things. Totally ignored what has taken place. It was any other campaign, on any other setting, it'd be headline BBC News, headline Sky News, so on. Radio 4 would be discussing it. There'd be a phone-in on LBC. So that absence of that, I think, is telling. Then, of course, it's also telling the left-wing posters on X saying we've already had an inquiry, and repeatedly making reference to the ICSA inquiry, which those of us who understand this and have lived through this will know that the ICSA inquiry was not to do with the rape gangs. And the one case study that they could have included, they excluded, which was Telford, which is why Telford then went and set about its own inquiry. And as soon as all of that context plays in, the ICSA inquiry excuse doesn't work. So that I expected. But what really annoyed me was people who are having a dig at a man for trying, simply because they've picked a side of reform, or they've picked a side of an extreme right-wing political group, I don't know. And they want to throw stones. Now, I came out immediately in January. I did an interview for The Spectator, where I made clear that Nigel Farage's promise, and remember they're all in the same group at the time, of a public inquiry couldn't be seen through. And I put that up, a snippet of that up earlier on X, that interview. And I start off by saying, with the greatest of respect, Reform are new, they don't really understand the mechanics of the legal system of Parliament, all of that. And I set out the challenge to Richard Tice and Rupert Lowe of coming up with a way in which they can help move this forward, this issue forward, without making promises that they can't keep. Rupert Lowe has come forward with what he makes reference to as the rape gang inquiry, and he set out what he wants to do. And I'll go through that properly tomorrow, I think, because I want to talk to you in detail about that, and I've not set it up in front of me here. So yes, I'll come back tomorrow evening is what I'm saying. But we'll talk about this because it's a pressing issue. And whilst it isn't a public inquiry, it doesn't have the statutory powers, which there are things it can do and there are things that it should do and will do. And the first thing I did was drop Rupert Lowe a message. He responded to me within, hours. And I've offered my services. Now, I'm very clear when I offer my services because I don't do these things lightly. I am committed. I don't play about, and when I do something and I say I'll do something, I do it. Now, he's gone away to decide how he thinks I can add value. In my view, I would want to sit on the panel. He might decide that I'm in the room to make teas and coffees and clean up after everyone. And do you know what? If that's what he decides that I'll be best at, that is what I will do. There is no ego here, there's no pride here, there's none of that. So that's where we're up to. I think that's a fair point, Fiona. I think that's a fair point. You can have white with 2 sugars if you want. So it's up to I've left it to Rupert to decide if and how I value. And also Richard Tice has endorsed the need to have me involved, because they can all see I'm not here to play silly buggers and games between politicians with one faction over another. If in the 6 years I've been at this, I haven't proven my worth and my value and how genuine I am by the issue that drives me, and you're not convinced yet, I don't think you ever will be convinced. So I don't get involved in the games. I don't like the abuse online and the ridiculing of a man who I believe is trying to do the right thing. And even if it is being used as an opportunity to end the infighting, then as far as I'm concerned, that's great. Rupert can go and focus on this. Reform can go and focus on growing their voter base and winning some, councillors. Is that not what we all want? And if I'm making teas in a room for the likes of Sammy Woodhouse, Rupert Lowe and some of the others, then that's okay as well. Because I've said it to my friends of you who meet me in person, and I've said it to many of you before whilst we have these Sunday night chats. In the end, I'll be happy sat on a park bench with a flask of tea and my cheese butties. Maybe watching some children play, knowing that when the moment came for me to step forward, I did, and I'll see out my days happily. So that's it. I don't know. You see, I wouldn't, if you know me, Chloe, you'd know I'd not push my views and opinions on someone. You know, I'm here to serve, I'm here to support, and I'll let them. So here is Israel coming. Hello. Yeah, you can, off you go. And I think reform, particularly the hierarchy, are supportive of what Rupert's done, because Nigel Farage did stand up, and maybe he was, a bit too quick, and then realised it didn't really have the powers, and would it be the best use of his time in trying to grow a party. I get all of that. But for all of us, it's a good thing. I think for all of us, it's a good thing. And I think the public have reacted. We. It's unprecedented. Raising money like this for an independent inquiry, however you describe it, whatever it does, in this manner is unprecedented. Last I checked, it was at £375,000. In what, just over 2 days? Thank you. Thank you so much. So, that's me on Rupert Lowe and his inquiry. I support it. I accept it doesn't have statutory powers, because I'm the one, remember, who told you all that any other party doing this sort of stuff doesn't have statutory powers. It can't compel witnesses, it can't go after evidence, but that doesn't mean there aren't other things it can't do. There's plenty it can do. And if I'm allowed to contribute, I will contribute. And if it doesn't want me in the room to contribute, then I'll just share stuff as I've always shared them, and people will pick up what they pick up. So it's fine. But I've never seen anything like it in my life. Politically, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And for all of us who are on the outside and have been on the outside for so long, to have someone on the inside fighting for us this way, it fills me with something. I'm replenished. I feel like, okay, we've got a chance here. I don't think my evidence, Chloe, again, I've shared most of it in all of the podcasts. Hope, yes, hope's the right word. Thank you. Sorry. I've shared most of my evidence. It's not the evidence that's my skill set. I came with 20 years of experience at the highest level before spending 6 years on this day in, day out. In the space I occupy, I'm unique. So hopefully he has a role for me other than making the teas. Thank you, Faye. I've not seen Faye in a while either, so we'll have to have a drink sometime, Faye. I mean, some of you are still in Oldham who support me. I am in Oldham tomorrow. I think I'll be in Rhodes. Is it Rhodes or something? In the afternoon, having a coffee. So, if any of you are passing, please do. And also regarding the event in April, of course, if I can get there, I will get there. But honestly, it's the first I've heard of it. Okay, if you're finding value in this evening's transmission, and let me get round to starting it, please like. That's the one, Tony. That's where I'll be. I like the coffee there, and and one of the ladies who works there, I think, supports us and is always pleasant. So if you are finding value, please press like. Please subscribe to Redwall and the Rabble, even if it's free. And if you can, please spend £3 or £30 and help my paid numbers go up. Okay. Oh, it's Eid. So, I've been nibbling samosas. All right. Okay. And I'm also happy because I can't believe they've done this. I can't believe these idiots have done this. I've called today the Mirpur Mandate. That's my Pakistani accent when I say Mirpur. Mirpur Mandate. British MPs who work for Pakistan. And they are, aren't they? They're outright working for Pakistan. It's ridiculous, right? Yet it's revealing. And when I first saw the story, I didn't believe what I was seeing. And then I thought, of course, it's bound to be true, isn't it? It perfectly showcases how some of our MPs have completely abandoned the people who actually voted for them. Let me set the scene for you. Our country is in chaos. Public services are collapsing. Councils are going bankrupt. The NHS is on life support. Working class families are struggling to afford basic necessities. Our pensioners are freezing. And in cities such as Birmingham, bin strikes have turned entire streets into rat-infested wastelands. So what are some of our MPs focusing on? Sorting out the economy, cutting crime, holding corrupt institutions accountable. No. They're lobbying for an international airport in Mirpur, Pakistan. I wish I was joking. This isn't some rogue MP going off on one. This is a coordinated effort. 20 British MPs, mainly Labour, along with the Pakistani sectarians masquerading as independents, have signed a letter to the Pakistani Prime Minister demanding that his government build an airport in Mirpur. That's right, 20 British MPs have signed a letter demanding an airport is built in Mirpur. They've also written to the Prime Minister, haven't they? Some of these same MPs have spent years opposing airport expansion at Heathrow. Net zero and all of that. So some of these MPs have spent years opposing airport expansion that would build infrastructure, jobs, improve, our country. But, it's okay. Air travel might be terrible for the environment in England, but it's okay in Pakistan. It's okay in Pakistan. Now, if you watched my interview with Peter, there's a section in it where for the first time really I make reference to Alexis J making reference to, in 2015, in an interview with Helen Pidd from The Guardian, how the demographic profiles of the offenders are from 3 villages in Kashmir, Pakistan. Of course, Mirpur is one of them. And I said, well, you know, at some point, someone needs to do the mapping, and maybe Rupert Lowe's inquiry will do that mapping of how many MPs are from Mirpur, how many councillors are from Mirpur, how many senior police officers are from Mirpur, and try and map that and cross-reference it against the areas where the Pakistani rape gangs operated, and also the demographic profiles of those convicted. Because my instinct is that the Mirpuri tribes, and it's very tribal, they protect each other. The loyalty, first and foremost, is to each other, then it is to any country or political party or institution. That's my experience of them. And of course, there's that added factor of the overrepresentation of within that community of first cousin marriages. So all of that plays in the background. Now, I thought about how I wanted to do this, and I went away and looked, and I thought, no, I know exactly how I'm going to do this. So to my friends in Greater Manchester Police, looking to have me arrested for racism again, I am now going to read an article published in The Spectator. And I'll read it word for word. I'll put it up on the screen and I'll read it. So if you want to arrest anyone, go and arrest the editor of The Spectator. So as you can see, this is Kunwar Kuldun Shahid, How Pakistan's Rape Culture Led to the UK Grooming Gangs, published on the 19th of January 2025. Pakistani origin men, can you see it properly? Is that okay? I think that's all right, isn't it? Pakistani origin men are up to 4 times more likely to be reported to the police for child sex grooming offences than the general population in England and Wales. The first National Police Scheme data appeared to suggest last week. So the first of the National Police Scheme data is out, and it appears to suggest that Pakistani origin men are up to 4 times more likely to be reported to the police for child sex grooming offences than the general population. The perpetrators of 3 of the most gruesome child abuse scandals in modern British history, in Rochdale, Rotherham and Telford, were overwhelmingly of Pakistani origin. While sexual abuse takes place across demographics, not enough attention has been paid to the way these grooming gangs have been inspired by the anti-women customs of Pakistan. The majority of British Pakistanis have their origin in Mirpur, a city in northern Pakistan. But while Mirpur is a part of Kashmir, its inhabitants predominantly share the customs, language and culture with Punjabis, Pakistan's majority ethnic group. Certain attitudes dominate Pakistan. There is a gory mix in the country of Islamic supremacism, primitive tribalism, and violent misogyny, which encourages some men to prey on girls. That many of these girls are underage has little sway on these men, since both their religious beliefs and customs see all females who have reached puberty as being fully grown women. This translates into a rape culture that in recent decades has seen young British girls being mercilessly violated. Sexual harassment by Pakistani men has been reported elsewhere as well, including in Turkey. I think the reference to that is, the significance of that is that they don't just pick on Christian girls. In Turkey as well, they're picking on Muslim girls. Pakistan's sexist culture is built on skewed notions of honour and morality, with women deemed property of men and required to be under male supervision or custodianship. Traditionally, honourable women keep themselves segregated and limit their visibility in public. Any transgressions by women are considered immoral and often result in violence. Islamic modesty codes, which ask women to cover up so they are not harassed further, fuels the idea that female honour is linked to the lack of a woman's visibility. Islamic traditions establishing sexual slavery also encourages the lover boy abuse strategy. Once again, so we're clear, this is an article published in The Spectator. In many cases, the Pakistani grooming gangs in the UK targeted Caucasian non-Muslim girls because they are lower in the honour scale. This is exaggerated, that's my tongue, by the white women fantasy prevalent across Pakistan. European women are often fetished in the pop culture of Pakistan and often depicted as lusting after Deshi men. Many Pakistani novels, films and TV shows feature Western and Westernized women being loose. Similarly, Pakistani grooming gangs have deemed British girls easy meat or fair game. In Pakistan, rape culture and the belittling of sexual abuse isn't just a feature of rural or tribal areas. Former military dictator Pervez Musharraf accused women of using rape for money making, while Imran Khan as Prime Minister blamed the women, whilst Imran Khan as Prime Minister blamed the way women dress and their lifestyle choices for the rise in rape cases across the country. Khan continues to enjoy massive popularity among overseas Pakistanis, including in the UK. His playboy lifestyle during his cricket days and later political career as a born-again Muslim is often considered by young Pakistani men as the ideal life template. In the UK, of course, there is ongoing uproar over the fact that horrific child abuse was able to continue for decades, in part because of political correctness and the fear of igniting racial tensions. It is only now that Pakistani grooming gangs are being accurately described as such. They are no longer being dubbed as Asian or South Asian, since it is evident that an overwhelming number of culprits come from one particular country. While the failure of the British authorities to protect young girls from grooming gangs is lamentable, there is something currently missing to stop these crimes happening in the future. There needs to be a much greater backlash to these crimes within the Pakistani community. While many progressive and liberal Pakistanis condemn sexist violence at home, when these crimes take place in Britain, they join their predominantly conservative fellow community members in a conspiracy of silence. Ostensibly, this is because they are afraid of racism and Islamophobia. For many of these progressives in Pakistan, upholding the myth of cultural equivalence is more important than providing justice to the victims and prevention of these monstrous acts. It would be far better to speak up against these crimes instead of looking to pin the blame elsewhere. Written by Kunwar Kuldun Shahid. He's a Pakistani-based correspondent for The Diplomat. There you go. Published in The Spectator. We're winning, aren't we? You can see we're winning. Because more and more of this is coming out. Okay, maybe you guys can have your conversations. I'm following this, and I accept there's a lot of new people here, but what tends to happen when I do these transmissions is the chat is focused on what I'm talking about, and if you guys want offline conversations with each other, then by all means go and have that elsewhere, perhaps, please. And I think that's accurate. I listened in horror this morning to the interview with the former Archbishop of Canterbury. And it was like, some sort of exercise of where it was like rehabilitating him for his role in covering up the gang rape of children in the Church of England. I thought, Lara Kusenberg went very easy on him. And he sat there saying, I forgive whatever the priest's name was who raped 100 children or more. I'm thinking, who are you to forgive him, you prick? It's for those children whose lives were destroyed. Yeah, I found him, sorry, I asked the right word. I'm sorry if you're a supporter. I found him repulsive. And then, of course, the Home Secretary came on and waffled a lot. And she was hinting at these laws coming in where if you knew and you're in a position of authority, you might get put in prison. No, the way she's worded it, I could tell straight away that no one's going to be held to account for that. It's just gesture politics. So you see what's going on in Pakistan. And over the grooming gang. So we've got a whole host of MPs who've decided that they want to build an airport in Pakistan. And here they are. It's Tahir Ali, Birmingham. He's the one who stood up and wanted blasphemy laws, remember. And he attended a press conference ordained by Mohammed Yassin MP. What does... he's using the word ordained. With 20 cross-party British parliamentarians requested for an international airport in Mirpur. There has been a long-standing promise for an international airport in Mirpur, which has yet to be met. This causes significant issues to a number of my constituents, a number of my cousins probably. Or my wife and my cousin, I don't know, who are having to drive over 3 hours to get to the nearest airport in Pakistan. Thank you, Joe. No, thank you, Joe, for that. And thank you for your prayers for that. Because that's... I spent a chunk of my life working for the Children's Society. It's a Church of England organisation. I had experienced nothing but love working for them. And I understand the Children's Society refused a donation from him. And it made me And it put a smile on my face. So this is Tahir Ali. Yes, that's what I was, sorry Natalia, that's what I was thinking. So this is the letter. And they've sent it to the House of Commons, to the Prime Minister. On House of Commons letter-headed paper. And they've sent it to, you can see, Honourable Mohammed Shehbaz Sharif. That's the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Dear Prime Minister, we hope this letter finds you well. We, the undersigned cross-party group of parliamentarians, write to draw your attention to a very important matter to the Kashmiri diaspora in the United Kingdom and beyond. We have cousins everywhere. Successive Prime Ministers of Pakistan have committed to development and welfare projects, including an international airport in Mirpur, in Azad Juma and Kashmir, AJK, which remains unrealised. We, the undersigned... Sorry, I'm going to stop. You know it's going to happen. Gamiji! They're going to stand up in Oldham Council and pass a motion right into the government to demand an airport in Kashmir. You can see it now, can't you? You can see it now, can't you? Successive Prime Ministers of Pakistan, blah, blah, blah. We, the undersigned, are grateful for the political, diplomatic and moral support. Forget the rest of it. The Kashmiri diaspora in the UK, including significant numbers of our constituents, have concerns regarding the journey times by road, often taking in excess of 3 hours driving following a long-haul flight. These journeys are genuine inhibitors to travel, and we are hearing increasing demands for an international airport in the region. I don't know what you're hearing that about. I don't know what you're talking about, Gillian. If you mentioned anything earlier in the post, sorry, I've missed it. Was just too busy having fun, so you'll have to enlighten me. So this is signed. This is signed by one of our MPs in Oldham, amongst others. And her name, of course, we know her as Debbie Kashmir. Honestly, we know her, we mock her and call her Debbie Kashmir. Debbie Abrams MP. Zubair Ahmed MP. Tahir Ali MP. Rosanna Alin Khan MP. Stella Creasy MP. Tandeshi MP. James Frith MP, and go so on and so on, including Zara Sultana at the end. And this is, I mean, I had to look him up to make sure it was real. One of them's called Baggy Shankar. I'm not being rude. Listen, you're not going to get anywhere with that. She took someone to court. She won on libel that she didn't say it. And as soon as we go back and talk about that, and those issues, it's safe ground for these people. It genuinely is. It's safe ground that they can bat off and say, oh, look, there's a far-right extremist, there's this, there's that. So the Nashar reference is she took someone to court and won on libel. Shaggy Bang. See, come on. Baggy Shank. It's a Baggy Shank. So that's the letter. So they want an airport building in Mirpur. So I've got 9 rebuttals for him. Julia, I've got 9 rebuttals for him. Echoing your sentiments. First of all, fix Britain? Question mark. No thanks. We're busy building Pakistan. Right now, many British cities are crumbling. Take Birmingham, for example, where Labour MPs like Tahir Ali are based. The city council has gone bankrupt. Bin strikes have left streets overflowing with filth, and residents are dealing with a public health disaster. So naturally, Ali has decided that the real crisis isn't in Birmingham. It's the lack of a luxury travel hub in Mirpur. Because that's what really matters, right? Not the fact that his own constituents are literally wading through trash. Let's build an airport in Mirpur. Then you have the Heathrow hypocrites. Now let's talk about the environmental warriors in Parliament. Those MPs who have spent years opposing airport expansions in the UK because of carbon emissions, noise pollution and environmental destruction. People like Tanamjit Singh Deshi, Afzal Khan, Yasmin Qureshi, Rosanna Aline Khan and Zara Sultana, all of whom have fiercely opposed expanding Heathrow Airport, calling it a climate disaster. Yet when it comes to Mirpur, suddenly the environment doesn't matter. Suddenly emissions and air travel are vital for economic growth. My auntie's backside can't deal with 3 hours in a taxi. It turns out the real issues isn't with airports, they just don't want to build them in Britain. No, Gillian, I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who he is. What I do know is what we've done and what we've been doing for the last 6 years, and it's working. And I'm not in the business of handing over names and addresses of children and their families to anyone. Ever. When the police arrested me, they took my, first time they arrested me, they took every digital device because they wanted information they thought I would have had on my computers. Of course, having a career in counter-extremism, the information they wanted was nowhere on any digital device I had. It's my belief, through experience, that they also tapped my phone. They spent 6 months hearing me rant about Liverpool results. The Mirpuri mandate. Who did these MPs actually work for? These MPs were elected by British people, paid by the British taxpayer, and supposedly here to serve British interests. Yet not a single person in Birmingham, Luton, Manchester or Bradford voted them in because they wanted a Pakistani airport. It raises a simple but important question. Who are these MPs actually representing? Because it sure as hell doesn't like it's in the working for the British public. Afzal Khan is the MP for Gorton. Who's paying for this? Now let's get into the real scandal. Who is going to fund this nonsense? I think last I looked, £115 million of aid, our money, went to Pakistan last year. 115 million, and that's what they've owned up to. If British taxpayers are even remotely involved in financing this project, it's an outright disgrace. We already send millions in foreign aid to Pakistan every year. 115 million was the figure I found. But even if the UK isn't paying, Why are British MPs even involved? Pakistan is a sovereign country. They wanted independence. And I don't think we want them back even if we could. If they want an airport, they can build one themselves. It's not our problem. It really isn't a problem. And you've seen them, Commons letter-headed paper. Afzal Khan is an MP for Manchester. Grooming gangs in Manchester, Operation Augusta, 97. 97 members of the grooming gangs. Case closed by Greater Manchester Police and Manchester City Council. And indeed, Afzal Khan was also a senior councillor at Manchester at the time. Where was his letter on the grooming gang scandal? We get the real reason, don't we, why these MPs are desperate for a new headline-grabbing project. These are the same people who spent years covering up and downplaying the grooming gang scandal. The same MPs who attacked whistleblowers, smeared victims, and protected corrupt police forces that let thousands of young girls suffer. Now, when people are demanding answers, they suddenly have more important things to focus on, like making sure British Pakistanis don't have to endure a 3-hour drive from Islamabad Airport. This isn't about infrastructure. This is about distraction, and this is about more than the padding on Auntie's bottom. If they want an airport today, what will they want tomorrow? What are we going to lobby Pakistan's Prime Minister for next? A UK-funded motorway in Kashmir? A taxpayer-subsidised metro in Lahore? A government grant to renovate shopping malls in Islamabad? Maybe we can loan them some money to build a mosque or a madrasa or two. This is crazy. Once this precedent is set, the floodgates are open and British taxpayers will foot the bill sooner or later. Of course, Ian is right. Here you go, Ian. And Sheila's right. It's about buying votes. Let's be blunt. This has nothing to do with economic growth. This is about vote banking. Certain MPs rely on identity-based voting blocks. They don't care about policies, principles, or the need of the wider electorate. They care about keeping a certain demographic happy. And pushing for a Mirpur airport is the perfect way to do this. They don't care if the airport ever gets built. What they care about is making it look like they fought for it, just in time for a next election leaflet. Tell me if I'm being unfair. And of course, what this demonstrates is the two-faced priorities of our MPs. Just think about this for a second. These MPs refused to fight for justice for British victims of grooming gangs. They refused to fight for better policing in their own communities. They refused to tackle corruption in councils like Birmingham and Oldham. And they refused to fight for infrastructure projects in the UK. Yet when it comes to foreign countries, a foreign country thousands of miles away, they suddenly spring into action. You couldn't find a clearer example of misplaced priorities. And it comes down to this: the Pakistan First Caucus. Let's just call it what it is. These MPs aren't acting like British representatives. They're acting like Pakistani representatives. If they care so much about Mirpur, maybe they should resign from Parliament and run for office in Pakistan instead. Debbie Kashmir, I would fundraise for your ticket, Debbie Kashmir. First class, I'd fundraise for it to send you off Because right now, what these MPs are proving, without a shadow of a doubt, their loyalties do not lie with the British public. And they sure as hell don't lie with the 100,000 girls across the country who are groomed and gang raped and trafficked by the men from Mirpur. Jim McMahon comes along, not to be outdone. Hold my drink, hold my Vimto. You ready? You ready for this? It's a song, isn't it? Come on. Every time I get in his car, he's got some 90s sort of techno playing. Come on, Gary. Who sang You Ready for This? If you're finding value, and there's just under 700 of you here. If you're finding value, if 700 of you bought me a coffee, I'd be thank you. I'd be a very happy Vimto drinker. It definitely wasn't the KLF. The KLF were cool. 2 Unlimited were not cool. If you're finding value, please, at the very least, subscribe to Redwall and the Rebel. It's completely free. This YouTube channel I'm on, you should have been subscribed by now already. Again, it's free. Press like. Maybe you want to buy me a super chat. And maybe if you're feeling generous, you want to buy me an Eid samosa using one of my one of these links here. That's the redwallandtherabble.co.uk to sign up to the webpage. And you can either go on buymeacoffee.com/recusant9 or paypal.me/recusant9 to help me pay for my lights and then keep me I'd fundraise. I think we all would, wouldn't we? Okay. Mate, compared to the KLF, they were a cheesy pop band. Okay. Jimmy Maximosa comes along. Hold my drink. This is Nick Timothy. He's now an MP. He used to be one of the former Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Joint Chief of Staff. What's she called? I forget her name. Not Liz Truss. What was the last one called? Who was the Home Secretary? Anyway. Jim McMahon, a communities minister, has attended an iftar event organised by the European Islamic Centre, EIC. They're on Manchester Road on the left. A group with very disturbing connections. Now, I've spoken out about the EIC before. I got in trouble for it because I struggle with it myself. So Nick Timothy has finally joined. Thank you, Theresa May. Nick Timothy has finally joined the dots and is now raising concerns himself. As his own publications make clear, the European Islamic Centre is part of the UKIM. That is the UK Islamic Mission. You can see it there, 79 Manchester Road, Oldham. UK Islamic Mission was set up in 1962 by members of Jamaat Islami to promote the party and the teachings of its founder, a man called Abul Ala Maududi. Maududi is a key Islamist ideologue and Jamaat-e-Islami is in South Asia is comparable to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and beyond. I objected to these guys a long time ago. There's councillors, serving Oldham councillors who were involved in it. In 2015, the British government's Muslim Brotherhood review explicitly called out the UK Islamic mission for its links to Jamaat-e-Islami and its hardline positions. Here are the extracts. Organisations which were originally associated with Maududi and the Jamaati continue to operate in this country. The UK Islamic Mission, UKIM, runs some 50 mosques across the country. The Islamic Forum for Europe, IFE, is politically active, in particular in the local authority of Tower Hamlets, and has supported the Respect political party. Trustees of the large East London Mosque and associated London Muslim Centre are also IFE members. Material still being promoted by UK Islamic Mission as of July 2014 continued to explicitly claim that it is not possible for an observant Muslim to live under a non-Islamic system of government. That's right. The UK Islamic Mission, as recently as the end of July 2014, continued to explicitly claim that it is not possible for an observant Muslim to live under a non-Islamic system of government, and anticipated the forthcoming victory of Islam over communism, capitalist democracy, and secular materialism. In 2010, a television documentary showed members of the Islamic Forum for Europe privately advocating Sharia law in Tower Hamlets and actively seeking influence in the council. In November 2009, the IFE led a petition seeking to directly elect a mayor in Tower Hamlets, and the IFE supported Lutfur Rahman while he was mayor. Now look, this is an official extract from an official government documents. This is well known within government. McMahon is a minister in the department responsible for tackling extremism. I told you to hold my drink, and if I had a samosa, no, I wouldn't be asking you to hold my samosa. You might nibble on it. McMahon is the minister in the department responsible for tackling extremism. So why did he attend an iftar organised by people influenced by Maududi and Islamism? These guys here, the belief that they hold, they explicitly claim that it is not possible for an observant Muslim to live under a non-Islamic system of government. So why is he nibbling samosas with them? And speaking. Good evening, Robert. Indeed. I think that's exactly what they're up to. Gets worse. After Stephen Timms attended the Muslim Council of Britain's award dinner and Keir Starmer laughed in number 10 with an imam who celebrated the 7th of October attacks, we have to ask, why are so many Labour ministers spending time with people they say they oppose? It's all about the samosas. It's always been all about the samosas. This has got nothing to do with anything other than harvesting votes. They don't care. I told you. In the same way with the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of working-class white girls, these girls were exchanged for votes. That was not a cause. It was an underlying symptom. And so here we have them pandering to Islamists, to people who clearly oppose us and our beliefs and our values. And they're going... What do you say? What do you want me to say? And of course, all of this is connected. All of this is connected. The police clearly didn't want to be outdone. So Greater Manchester Police, Oldham Police also attended the event. And you can see them there. These people are not our friends. They are not our allies. I watch these iftars in these churches or in these historical civic spaces with Christian sort of heritage. And remember, I'm a Muslim. I'm a fully practicing Muslim. I look at this and I think, there is no way any of my Muslim brethren would do likewise. Some of you people, it's the equivalent of taking your daughter, your 10-year-old daughter, to the local Pakistani takeaway, Kashmiri Mirpur takeaway, where you know the gang rapes operate from, and saying, well, they're babysitter. It's craziness. It's absolute craziness. If you're finding value, please do sign up to Redwall and Rabble. It costs nothing. You pay only if you want to. My subscription numbers, my numbers on the newsletter is pitifully low. We're just over 3,000. Ideally, we want to be at 10,000. We're nowhere near. My aim is to get it to 5,000, and at least it's, there's some element of respectability. When I go and speak at events, or when I'm speaking on, and sharing my expertise, I can say I run this is a platform. I run Redwall and Rebel, and it's got 5,000 members. At the moment, they've got 3,000 members. It's pitifully low. So, please sign up to Redwall and the Rabble. And if you can, take out a paid subscription. If you already have and can afford to do so, you don't want to commit monthly or anything like that, buy me a coffee. Help keep me going, because this information, the way I communicate it, no one else communicates it with you. No one else will educate it with you. And if they were going to, they would have done it by now. And so we're clear. About 8:15, I thought of crying off. I thought, shall I use it was Eid as an excuse not to come up? And I thought, no, I better not. I know people are waiting for me. I know people take value in this, and I have a responsibility. So here I am. How is this playing out in the UK? There was an election, a Mayfield Redbridge Council by-election. ILI, a new independent, brand new, took 42% of the vote, wiped the floor. Ilford Independents. This is Ilford Independent. Nur for Mayfield. Nur Jahan Begum. She's campaigning for human rights both here and abroad, justice for Palestine and Ukraine, and needless wars. Sustainable housing. I stand with Palestine. The sectarians. She just won, as Darren Grimes says, she just won in Ilford. Religious sectarianism in Britain is here to stay. Of course, if you would come to Oldham, you'd come across a muppet called Graham Sheldon, who was the leader of the Conservative group. He's just joined the Pakistani sectarians. Honestly, a councillor for Upper Mill, Saddleworth South, very rural, affluent, white area. When I potter around, I'm like, one of the very few Asian faces in that world. And the people are lovely, by the way. I've never had any issues up here. The people have always been kind with me. He's gone and joined the Pakistani sectarians. He plays the organ at the local church. Some of this, we're in a mess of our own making, aren't we? We're in a mess of our own making. And the political class, the liberal elite, the fake liberal elite, I call them, and some of our leaders, whether it's Nigel Farage, whether it's some of the new faces in the Conservative Party, whether it's Rupert Lowe and those who are aligned with him, this country needs a change in direction before it goes down a direction from where there's no coming back for any of us. And if I'm selfish, it's because before they hang you, they'll be hanging me. If you have found value in this transmission, please like, share, tell your friends. If you want me on Rupert Lowe's panel or something, do drop him a message and push that. Maybe I'll be of more value than making the teas. I'm going to come tomorrow and do an entire session on Rupert Lowe. Not on Rupert Lowe, sorry, my apologies. On the on his proposal. I think it merits something serious. I've set up the pad I write on, and I'll go through all of that. So if you find value, I'll see you again tomorrow evening. But in the meantime, please consider buying me a coffee, buying me a samosa using PayPal, or most importantly, signing up to Redwall and the Rabble and increasing our numbers. I really need your help, because you can see the value I bring, and I need to now use the numbers I've got to claim legitimacy to be able to inform and influence some of the discussions taking place. And without you, I can't do that. And if I can't do that, we lose. A very, very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.